Hey, Jimmy. Thanks so much for setting up this meeting today. I'm really excited to talk to you. I know that we've had some issues with some production problems, but I know that the goal together is to make a good product for the consumer, and we kind of need each other for that. And I know this has dragged on long enough, so thank you for setting it up, and thank you for coming to me. I really appreciate that.
Oh, well, thank you for your time, and I'm really looking forward to hopefully trying to understand what the issues are with the modules. And one of the things I was wanting to do with this meeting was just try and paint a picture for you of the issues we're having over at our plant based on these 12 modules that we receive from that typically have higher failure rates than others. Um, we receive a number of different products from different plants within Universal Computer, uh, but the only product that we have a high failure rate on or a high fault rate on is these 12 specific modules. And then obviously this creates a number of logistics and operational issues for us. It requires us to put extra personnel on the line and troubleshoot and correct deficiencies when these products arrive. We also have to, in order to meet shipment deadlines, we have to pay personnel extra overtime and also put extra personnel on the line. So that increases the cost and affects our bottom line as a plant, and it makes it look like we have trouble managing our budget because we have unaccounted for man hours that we're expending correcting a deficiency on a product that comes from Universal. We've done our best to deal with this in the past, but right now it's getting to a point where it's almost unsustainable. These deficiencies, they're affecting the delivery of the product to our end user, the customer. And unfortunately, there's really nothing that's something I can't deal with. I have no control over that when I can't meet an order because I have an excessive number of faulty modules that come from your plant. It makes it difficult to do business. I'm really just trying to hope that maybe we can come to an understanding of what the problem is and then work together to maybe figure out if there's something we can do together to correct it going forward so that this can be better for both of us in the long run. And then Universal Computer as a whole, we can put out a quality product to our customers.
Absolutely. Well, thank you first of all for sharing that with me, Jimmy. Nobody likes paying more. Nobody likes having issues, and the last thing we want to do is have an issue with the customers. Because at the end of the day, we're all just part of this to build a product for them.
Absolutely.
So I hear you, and I definitely think that we could walk away from this meeting with some ideas on how to handle this issue and handle issues in the future. I do want to just take a moment here, though, and share a little bit from our end, because obviously this is causing us a little bit of a bottom line issue as well. You've been in the supply chain management field for a long time, right?
I have several years.
Okay, perfect. Well, here at Crawley, we actually produce over 40 modules. And it's unfortunately, I wish I could go and personally check every single module that comes off of our production floor. But what we've adopted is a sampling technique, which is pretty widely accepted in the industry. And according to our sampling of I think it's 42 total modules, we do pass that 95% threshold. So I hear that you're having issues with these 12 specific, but the way that we've always done it, and I'm not saying that that's the way that we need to continue to do it, is to check it of the 40, do a sampling, and we are passing it on our end. And this kind of conversation, this issue that we're having right now that I hope we can come to an integrative solution on, is costing us money as well, because every time that you refuse a shipment, it costs us money. Every time you send it back, costs us money. Doing repairs costs us money. So that's the theme here. So obviously we both want to, not change too much, but we need to minimize our expenses, and make sure that we can work together for the future and really serve the customer. So I know I have some ideas on my end over here. But since you're the one who made the effort and came over here, do you want to go ahead and start sharing kind of what you were hoping to get or kind of ideas you were hoping to have out of this?
Well, my ultimate goal is just to ensure that we receive a quality product that we can deliver to our customer. And we have to, um, for that to happen, we have to receive working modules so we can assemble the product and make it work. And first, I'd also like to say that obviously I know you've been working on these issues because we have seen an uptick in the quality and a lower failure rate, but it's still just not to a manageable threshold for us. So I can't really comment on the internal processes with your plan or what I'd like to change. My ultimate goal is to walk away from this with a SMART goal, something that's measurable and achievable that we can assign a timeline to, and maybe say, okay, we think we can have this problem addressed in 4, 6, 8, 12 weeks, and then maybe we can reevaluate there. So if we could come up with some short and long-term corrective actions, it would maybe help us meet a realistic and reasonable timeline that we can both agree on, and then maybe reconvene if we have to at that point, just to figure out what we can do to work together to fix this problem.
Absolutely. I love that you brought up the SMART goals. I think that makes sense because a goal without a plan is just a wish. So I definitely agree that that's what we need to do today. So let me start by going ahead and sharing some of the internal ideas that I had on my end, just so you could hear them, you kind of know what's going on. But it seems to me that here there's kind of a twofold situation that we need to address, before we end the meeting today. And that would be what happens with those 12 modules and what happens with the other 30 modules that aren't causing an issue. And just to be totally frank with you, I don't think it's going to be feasible for us to change our entire process in terms of sampling every single module production line. But I am willing to make some adjustments on our end because I agree that this can't go on. So first and foremost, the thing that I wanted to mention is adding a quality assurance dimension to this. And this, in my mind, is a short-term corrective action plan that kind of comes along with some other things as well. So what that means for us is having somebody, whether they're internal or external, do a deep dive specifically on these 12 modules and see what's going on. Because for us, they are passing our sampling rule and they're passing the 95% standard and they're leaving our plant and we think everything's great. And then you're saying that you're having issues on your end. What I'd like to go ahead and kind of do that at the same time is offer you to either come yourself or send your own maintenance technician to come for the day, which we'd be happy to pay for and sponsor. They could take a look at what's going on our end and kind of share what's happening on your end. And that way, maybe together we can find out what the issue is. Are we testing at the same level? Are we on the same page? Is it, maybe you're just unfortunately the victim of some of our bad sampling. Maybe we need to increase our sampling metrics. We need to do a deep dive on the analysis. So for us, the two major things that we want to implement are the internal QA to address and kind of fix the problem and give you the opportunity to be part of that process as well.
Okay, I think that those are both fantastic ideas. And as you said, the quality assurance, that would certainly be something that we would consider as a short-term goal, along with sending someone to your plant, whether it be myself or probably one of our technical experts that's actually on the line that can identify the specific problem that we have with this module. One of the things I would like to do and recommend is when we do this is that also, if you guys have any standard operating procedures, SOPs, I will certainly send my personnel over with them. And then maybe if you have yours handy, we can compare so we're actually apples to apples. Because while you say it passes your 95% threshold, it doesn't pass ours. So maybe we can figure out how we're testing differently here and just see if there's a way for us to come up with a solution to ensure we're able to meet demand on our product. So
Absolutely. I definitely agree. I think kind of information sharing is going to be the best and most beneficial like solution for the future. And our focus, like I mentioned, is coming to an integrative solution, having those positive relations. We continue to work together and both increase our bottom lines. I think that's mutually beneficial. In terms of right now, though, I think we need to talk a little bit about the repair situation, because when you're refusing our shipments because they're not up to your quality standard, it is starting to add up to our bottom line. And then I'm not sure how the repair process works on your end if you don't send it back. But I think we need to talk about the kind of expenses and the process of handling those 12 issue modules and the 30 not so issue modules in the meantime.
But before we move to that part, the one other issue I'd like to bring up. So I think I've also got a short-term corrective action too. Is it? So obviously your plant is specialized in producing these modules. So because you have a level of specialization, you can complete and produce and repair a module quicker than I can. My personnel cannot do it as quick as yours. So while it may take someone that works for me 6-8 hours to fix a batch of these, one of your personnel may be able to do it in 2 or 4 because they're so used to working on the product. So I do believe that that also needs to be something we need to look at, if there's a way where if we have trouble meeting demand for a product, we can get some assistance from the technical expert, being one of your personnel, that can come over and help us repair a number of products. And I think we can kind of come to an agreement. We can probably tie that into the shipments we've been refusing, because that would help us to not have to refuse an entire shipment if we could know that there's an assurance we can get some assistance if it's outside of the quality standards and we're not going to be able to meet demand.
Yeah, I definitely hear what you're saying, and we are the subject matter experts here. So I guess that kind of ties into what I was kind of going for too. So this is perfect timing. Yeah. So I think we're really on the same wavelength here, which is awesome. I think when it comes to the repair situation, like I mentioned, there's kind of these 12 modules that are having the issues, and then the 30 modules. So for each kind of segment of those two groups, repairs are going to happen, because even at the 95% threshold, that means 5% are not going to pass anyway. But in terms of handling those repairs, the process for who's going to fix them and who's going to pay for that fixing. So that's kind of what I wanted to touch on. I know that we're the subject matter experts. And so what I would like to do, as a sign of good faith as we're working on our long-term corrective action plan, is especially for those 12 modules that are being the issue for you, I would definitely be willing to send my technician to your plant to have those fixed. You don't need to ship them back to me. I will send somebody to kind of fix those 12. But I would like to split the cost of those repairs if you're open to that. The cost of my person that's going there. That way it is going to up your bottom line, but you don't have to take your personnel away from something else. You don't have to pay for overtime. I would just ask that you maybe split the cost of my technician coming to you for those 12 issue modules for now.
Are you referring to, say, so if we order 100 units, we should have 95 in theory that pass criteria, correct?
In theory, yes, according to our sampling.
And we've already both identified that we probably have a different sampling process here,
yeah.
because we're each coming up with different numbers. So, but if we have 80,
yeah, sorry, and we've also identified that there is that 12 modules. So of the over 40, there's a 28% that are having an issue. So what I'm willing to do is kind of group those into two different things. So that's why I kind of want to talk about a dual process, one just for those 12, and one.
That's what I'm referring to. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, I just want to.
I'm only referring to 12. So if we say we had 80 out of 100, and so 20 of them failed, you want us to cover the cost to repair the other 15 that would get us up to that, say, 95% confidence? Is that what you're asking
Not
us
on
to
the
do?
40 of the total. So
Only for the 12.
for the 12 is what I'm saying.
So that hmm, that and I'll tell you, I'll be willing to meet you in the middle on that and cover half of the cost. But what I would like um, is instead of you sending one technician, I would like you to send two. So I'll pay for one and you pay for one. And what that allows me to do is then I can put one of my personnel there too that can also get some understanding, and maybe they can become more efficient and they can get some on the job training from your personnel. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
So that way, however many people you're sending, if you send one, send another. I'll pay for one, you pay for one. And then what that does is that allows me to get some on-the-job training to hopefully assist. And then maybe if I do run into these issues in the future, again, this is a short-term corrective action. This isn't necessarily something I'm willing to do long-term. I'm willing to do this while we work out what our QA process and issues are, but I'm not committing to do this indefinitely.
Absolutely. And I think that's a great suggestion, Jimmy. So just to make sure we're on the same page, I had offered to split the cost. So you're saying instead of just sending one person to do the repairs for these 12 problem children modules, me sending two people, that way we are still splitting the cost, but that way your person is getting some training. I'm hoping in the future that our long-term correction action plan will prevent this from being a long-term problem, but that way that they're getting that training as well. So I think that that's a great
Well, I that's correct. So how long do you see this analysis of our QA process taking?
idea. I don't know, is the most truthful answer. I think we can go ahead and get this started. I think that, I mean, I would love to set like a
What
30, 60, 90-day timeline here.
what
Um,
I'm trying to avoid is you thinking this will happen in 12 weeks and me thinking it's going to happen in 6, and then after 6 weeks I say, hey, I'm done paying for this person, and then we're on to, you understand what I'm saying?
yeah.
It may be difficult, but we do have to come up with some form of a timeline.
So
Um,
let's, why don't we set a 6-week reevaluation stage. And at that point, my QA person will have done the evaluation. Your person will have come for the day, like we had originally discussed, and hopefully these issues will be off the table. So I think 6 weeks is a solid goal.
okay, I think 6 weeks is great. That's exactly what I had in mind, since we take weekly shipments. So what we'll do is you'll send over two personnel. You'll pay for one. I'll pay for one. I'll have also an additional person there to get them on the job training, so they can come up with some expertise and be able to help us out in the future fixing these modules. We'll reevaluate in 6 weeks.
The
But
only thing that we haven't covered is those other 30 modules, though. That if you
right, I'm just right. But after that 6 week, and again, I agree with that QA analysis. After that 6 weeks, I'm not going to be really willing to continue that because that's an extra whole set of man hours I have to pay for continually, unless we've seen some significant improvement. Hopefully we have with these 12 units. But at week 6, obviously, as you said, we'll have to reevaluate if we're going
absolutely.
to continue on with that.
Yep, I definitely agree with that. And just so I make sure we're on the same page in terms of those other 30 modules, though, I know that you've kind of mentioned in the past. I'm assuming that you've been upset about the 12 issue modules you've been having, and I know that you've asked for us to pay for the repairs or the servicing of those other 30, but they are passing that 95% threshold. So I just want to make sure that we're on the same page, that we're still going to follow the industry standard, and if you are having any minor issues with those repairs, you're going to just handle them yourself. Is that correct, or just?
So the only repairs so in the past I've handled repairs for outside companies that provide products to Universal, and I've only done that in specific cases when it's necessary to meet a shipment deadline. I don't want to get in the habit of continually doing repairs because we continually have a problem that exceeds our threshold. I have no issue making repairs because we have, if we're still able to meet our demand and I've got extra parts laying around, well, I can fix some modules as I need to because that helps you out, that helps me out, keeping personnel gainfully employed. But what I don't want to do is get in the habit of continually repairing these modules and then end up, instead of having, we'll say we get past the issue with these 12, well, now I've got 3 more that have somehow tapered off and we've got an issue. So I'm okay making repairs, but the expectation is that we still are able to meet demand on our products. If it gets to a point, well, what I will ask for a blanket for all modules is if it were to get to a point where we had a reoccurring instance with even one of these 30 that was failing and we had trouble meeting demand, that I would still get the technician to come over from your plant to help us as the technical expert execute the repairs in a timely manner, and then obviously you would pay your technician.
Absolutely. I think that's totally fair.
Okay.
Perfect.
But as far as the 30, we typically don't have these issues. It's just, I just don't want to get there with those, or where we are here on these 12 with those 30.
I just want to make sure that, obviously there are going to be faulty modules, in the mix. But I just want to make sure that our split cost, split fixing commitment of me sending the tech to you was only for those 12. And you're going to handle the repairs and everything for the 30. But if those start having problems as well, I think we should have an evaluation meeting and kind of apply this rule to those as well.
I will handle repairs as long as it's sustained. If I have to put personnel on overtime, what I will not do is I will not put personnel on overtime to handle repairs on those 30 units and then pay additional man hours. If that's required, I expect you to cover that cost. If they can complete, if they have extra time, downtime during the day, and we can execute those repairs, absolutely, I'll do them. But if it comes where it's going to, instead of paying a person 8 hours a day, I've got to pay them 12 or 14, I would expect you to cover that cost or send one of your technicians over to execute those repairs. Is that reasonable?
Yes, I think that's reasonable. So basically your goal is to just work it into your mix and into your process. But if it becomes unsustainable and affecting your bottom line, and affecting your numbers, then kind of revisiting this deal we have set up about splitting the cost and my technician doing the repairs to make it faster and easier for you.
Yes.
Perfect. Awesome. Well, I will go ahead and get all of our notes drafted up.
Real quick, so we've got also, there is an actual, while these issues have been going on over the last 6 weeks, I believe it's been about 6 weeks, we've had faulty units at about $15,000 per week for the units that we've incurred a cost for. And again, that makes it look like each week I've got $15,000 that I can't manage in our budget because we've had to execute extra man hours and spend extra time repairing these. So I understand we've got a plan for the future, but what I would like is to split that cost with you, because that's personnel that I've had to do personnel I've had to work in the past to correct these deficiencies. So that $15,000 a week cost, I'm open to splitting it just for the weeks while we've been dealing with these 12 faulty modules. Because this is the first time we've met, so I don't see a reason in really fighting over it, but I believe that we should split those costs.
You know what? Every time that you've refused a shipment, it's cost us the $15,000 in the week. So there's definitely been weeks where you've refused them and we've incurred that. There's been weeks where you've accepted that and you've incurred that. And I think the best way to move forward and show that we're in this together, I agree, is to split those costs just totally evenly. And that way we could just move forward together.
I think that's fantastic. So, and then
Awesome.
hopefully we can get this fixed before anyone else has to get involved. So,
Absolutely. Awesome. Well, I'll go ahead and draft up my notes. I'll send them over to you, make sure that we're on the same page, and then we can go ahead and start implementing our short-term corrective action plan.
okay, thank you.
Thank you.